Hello, Katie here from Salvaged by K. Scott with another furniture flip. Did you know that you can make over and upcycle particle board furniture? Today I'm updating a laminate and particle board cabinet that I thrifted for just $5, and I'm going to share some tips and tricks that will hopefully make your own furniture refinishing projects go a little bit smoother. Let's start at the top here with what exactly is particle board and what is laminate? Particle board, OSB, or chipboard is a type of composite wood material that's made by combining wood particles or chips, basically the leftovers from milling lumber, with resins and adhesives, and then pressing them together under heat and pressure. That creates boards that are flat, smooth, and uniform in both thickness and density. It's pretty commonly used in furniture construction and has been since about the 1950s because it's really cost effective and it doesn't split or warp like natural woods tend to do. Sometimes it's finished with a laminate over top, and other times it's covered with a thin layer of real wood called veneer. Unfortunately, it's just not as durable or strong as solid wood, and it can be really prone to bubbling or swelling from moisture. Laminate furniture is furniture that's made with a thin layer of decorative material, usually some type of paper or plastic, that's stuck onto a composite material like particle board. It's popular because, again, it's budget friendly and it can be made to look like anything, which makes it completely versatile to any kind of design. There are a ton of these pieces out in the world, new and old, and even though they may not be the most desirable construction, and they can't be sanded back or restained like wood, they can definitely still be fixed up and painted to be turned into useful, beautiful pieces of furniture again, instead of ending up in the trash. Now let's dive into this makeover. I'm going to start, like I always do, by washing this thing down with some simple green. Any cleaner you like with a good degreaser in it will make sure that you're not only getting any dirt off of the surface, but also anything that might mess with your paint like oils or waxes. Since this is susceptible to moisture damage though, I'm making sure not to use too much water and moving pretty quickly so that it can dry out again fast. I removed the shelf pins that I could, but the ones in this cubby are covered with the laminate, so they'll just get to keep hanging out in there. And this knob is cute, but not the modern look that I'm going for, so I'll save this for another project. I'm also removing the magnetic catch and its corresponding plate on the inside of the door because I don't want to mess them up with paint. But something to note about working with particle board is that it doesn't tolerate being nailed or screwed into multiple times. It tends to crumble a little bit when you remove a screw, and then it's often hard to get that screw to hold in the same hole again. And that's the reason I'm choosing to leave the hinges on here alone. I'll cover them up with some painter's tape to protect them as much as I can, but if I take out the screws, I probably won't be able to reinstall them in the same spots again. I am going to pull off these little decorative pieces though. I want to pull this base off of the bottom and add some new legs on here to update it a little. All I have to do is unscrew these brackets and the base will come right off. Now for the legs, I have a little collection I've salvaged off of other furniture or ordered for other flips that I didn't end up using, so let's see what's in here. These are nice, but too shiny for what I have in mind. These could work, but again, shiny gold. I don't want gold on this one. I might be able to make these wood guys work. These are too country, but these classic MCM taper legs, these are the ones. These are gonna work. I can sand them back to bare wood, stain them, and add some real wood to this thing. The brackets for these legs, though, do need some sort of lip for me to screw them onto, so I think I'll use this scrap piece of poplar to make sort of a smaller frame that I can secure them to. After I figured out how big I wanted to make my new frame, I cut the pieces down on the miter saw, drilled some pilot holes so that I didn't split the boards, and then screwed them right onto the bottom of the cabinet with some 1-inch wood screws. Now I've got just enough of a lip to attach the brackets. They are pretty gross though, so I think I'm going to give these a soak in some CLR and I'll scrub them down a little bit later. I put a bit of wood filler over the seams here, and while that dries, I want to figure out some way to spice up the door. I picked up a few of these pine lattice pieces the last time I was at Home Depot, and I think I can use these to add another wood feature here. So I'm going to cut a few pieces the same height as the door and then just play around with how I want to lay them out. My filler is dry now, so I'll smooth that out with some 150 grit sandpaper, and then I need to scuff up the rest of these slippery laminate surfaces to create a little bit of grip or tooth for my paint to grab onto. This is also where I'd be using my sander to smooth out any bubbled up parts if I had them, and filling in any dents or deeper scratches, but this piece is really clean and smooth, so I don't have any of that to do. And I completely forgot about these little nail holes on the doors. Now that I'm done with my scuff sand, I'm using a microfiber cloth to wipe up any sanding dust and then adding that masking tape to the hinges. On to primer. Depending on the paint you use, you may or may not need to use a bonding primer. I usually like to stick on the side of caution and choose to prime with this shellac-based primer no matter what. I use this a lot because it does all the things that I could possibly need from a primer, like blocking odors and stains, helping with paint adhesion, and especially if you're working with a lot of wood filler repairs, it will seal that up so that your paint sits evenly across those more porous spots and the non-porous laminate. This stuff is a pain to clean up. It requires either alcohol or ammonia. So I like to line a paint tray with some aluminum foil and just use a roller to apply it instead of trying to clean it out of my sprayer when I'm done. I only need one coat on this, so once I've got this on here, I'll let it dry for about 30 minutes and then I can move on to paint. While I wait for that to dry, I guess I'll start sanding down these legs. I'm going to start with 80 grit to get through the paint, and then I'll smooth that out with some 120 and then 180 grits to get a nice soft surface that I can stain. My primer is dry, so I can go over it with some 400 grit sandpaper really quickly just to hit any little roller nubbies, wipe off the dust again, and now I can get set up to paint. I'm going to use my gravity-fed HVLP pneumatic sprayer that's powered by my big air compressor today to paint with this luxe blue called Chestler by Fusion Mineral Paint. But you can get fantastic results with an affordable electric sprayer or even a roller and a paintbrush if spraying isn't an option, so please don't let my spraying this paint intimidate you. Since I'm spraying though, I do need to strain my paint so I don't end up with anything clogging my gun, and I'm also going to add just a splash of water to get a good flow. When it comes to painting laminated particle board furniture like this, it's important to choose the right type of paint to ensure that you're getting good coverage, good durability, and a smooth finish. Acrylic paints are a popular choice for painting this type of furniture because they dry quickly, they're easy to work with, and like I said, they can be applied with a brush, roller, or a spray gun. Fusion also has a resin in it, which makes it waterproof, really easy to maintain, and even UV resistant. I get a lot of my Fusion products for free because I love them so much that I signed up to be an influencer for the brand. But I've also had really good luck with some of the newer Alkyd enamel paints like Benjamin Moore's Advance and Behr's Satin enamel paints, if you want to check those out instead. No matter what tools you choose to apply your paint, you'll always get the smoothest results by applying multiple lighter coats rather than trying to get full coverage in your first pass. And it can also help a lot with brushing or rolling if you give your dried coats another light sand in between. Just don't sand your last coat because you'll definitely see all those little scratches in it. While that first coat of paint is drying, I think the leg brackets are ready for me to scrub off the rust with some steel wool. Those cleaned up really nicely, but to keep them from rusting over like that again, I'm going to dry them off and then spray them with some of this rust inhibiting spray paint. I also want to get these legs and my wood for the door stained up. I learned this little clamp trick from Angie over at Transcend Furniture Gallery. It is the perfect way to paint, stain, or top coat legs like this without having to lay them down on a surface to dry. I am on a mission to use up all of the little bits of leftover products that I've been collecting for years, so I'm going to use this salmon water-based wood stain in the color walnut on these. It is super easy to use. You just wipe it on and then wipe off any excess. The only thing to watch for are streaks left by your rag or sponge, and this stuff dries so fast that it's ready to top coat almost instantly. It's been about 2 hours since I sprayed my first coat, so it's dry enough for the next one, which should take care of any bare spots and be my final coat. I'm popping my legs and the wood strips onto this box so that I can top coat them, but I'm suddenly reminded of why this can has been sitting on the back of the shelf for so long. I'm not a fan of the spray can version of this top coat. The regular brush on stuff is my all-time favorite top coat though. I'm going to smooth out that poly mess with some 400 grit sandpaper, then I'll just rub a little bit more pigment over with whatever's left on the rag. Then I'll try again with a damp sponge and this Behr water-based poly. Yep, that is much better. My second coat has had about 4 hours to dry now, so I'm going to reinstall the magnetic latch to the door because I want to flip this onto its back again and make sure the bottom of the cabinet is good, and I don't want this freshly painted door flapping around. Luckily, the screws are holding in there just fine. If not, I might have had to fill these holes with wood filler, touch up the paint, and reinstall these in a new spot. One more quick spray just to finish off this bottom, and I'll leave this to dry overnight. Fusion has a built-in top coat, so in the morning I can move right along to my finishing touches. I'm ready to install these brackets now and get the new legs on here, and then I need to rifle through my hardware bin to find a new knob for the door. This little guy will work perfectly. I'm just going to add a few coats of black enamel paint to it. I'm kind of liking this cabinet as is. Maybe I don't need to add the wood strip details onto this door after all. But I guess I've already stained and sealed them, so I may as well execute on my plan. I don't think nailing or stapling into the door is going to help much on this particle board, so I think I've decided to just stick these on with some crazy glue. Obviously, I decided to use less of these than I originally thought, but I do really love the way this is looking. Here's a quick reminder of the thrifted cabinet that I started with, and here is the brand new contemporary design that I was able to create with it. A lot of these laminate and particle board pieces get passed up at the thrift shops and ultimately tossed in the trash. But hopefully I've proven to you that their bad rap isn't all it's cracked up to be. And even if they're beat up or worn out, they can still make beautiful, useful pieces with a few modifications and a little bit of paint. Thank you so much for watching today. I'll leave a few more painted furniture videos here for you to watch next, and I will catch you all next time.